So breaking news to bring you, and a deal has been agreed.
Manchester United's €30 million gamble, and why almost everyone is looking at it the wrong way. If I asked you to name the biggest problem at Manchester United right now, what would your answer be? Some fans would say it's the lack of goals. Others would blame the midfield. Some would point at the defense. And plenty of people would simply say that the club still doesn't have a clear identity. But what if I told you that all of those answers actually lead to the same conclusion? Because over the last few years, Manchester United haven't just struggled because of individual mistakes or poor results. They've struggled because every transfer window has felt like a reaction instead of a plan. One season the priority was a striker. The next it was a midfielder, then a defender, then another winger. Expensive players arrived, expectations exploded, and somehow the team still looked incomplete. That's why the latest transfer reports caught my attention. Not because of the player. Not even because of the reported €30 million price tag, but because this could finally be the first signing that actually tells us what Manchester United are trying to become. According to several reports across Europe, United are seriously interested in signing Francisco Conceição, the Portuguese winger currently linked with Juventus. On the surface, it's easy to understand why this story has divided supporters. There are fans asking why the club would spend around €30 million on a player who isn't yet considered one of Europe's biggest stars, while others believe this could quietly become one of the smartest pieces of business of the entire transfer window. The truth is that both sides are asking the wrong question. The debate shouldn't start with whether Francisco Conceição is worth €30 million. It should start with asking why Manchester United want him in the first place. When you look back at last season, one pattern appears over and over again. United could move the ball through midfield reasonably well, they could dominate possession for long stretches, but when the ball reached the final third, everything slowed down. Defenders stayed comfortable. Full-backs weren't being isolated often enough. Opponents rarely looked afraid. Modern football is becoming increasingly difficult for teams that rely only on passing combinations. Defensive structures are simply too organized. At some point, every elite team needs players who are capable of creating chaos, players who force defenders into uncomfortable situations, who attack space relentlessly, and who can eliminate an opponent with one touch of the ball. That's exactly the type of player Francisco Conceição has built his reputation around. He's quick without relying only on speed. He's technically gifted without becoming predictable. Most importantly, he constantly asks defenders difficult questions. Stay too close and he'll burst past you. Give him space and he'll drive forward with confidence. Those are qualities that don't always appear on highlight reels, but they completely change the way an attack functions over 90 minutes. And that's why I believe this transfer is much bigger than one player. If Manchester United are genuinely willing to invest around €30 million here, it suggests the recruitment department is prioritizing profiles over popularity. That's a subtle difference, but an incredibly important one. The biggest clubs in Europe rarely buy players simply because they are famous. They buy footballers whose characteristics fit a very specific tactical idea. Think about Liverpool under Klopp. Think about Manchester City under Guardiola. Think about Arsenal under Arteta. Their best signings weren't always the biggest names available. They were players who made the entire system stronger. For years, Manchester United have struggled to do exactly that. Too often, the club has built squads by collecting talented individuals instead of assembling pieces that naturally fit together. That's one of the biggest reasons managers have constantly found themselves trying to adapt tactics to players rather than recruiting players for clear tactical identity. If Conceição arrives, maybe that's beginning to change. Of course, none of this guarantees success. Old Trafford has seen world-class talent fail before. We've watched players arrive carrying enormous expectations only to leave with supporters wondering what went wrong. History reminds us that no transfer fee, whether it's €30 million or €100 million, can guarantee performances on the pitch. But recruitment isn't only about reducing risk. It's about recognizing the right opportunity before everyone else does. Sometimes the smartest transfers aren't the ones that dominate newspaper headlines. They're the ones people barely notice until 2 years later, when everyone suddenly asks the same question. How did they manage to sign him for that price? Maybe Francisco Conceição becomes that player. Maybe he doesn't. But one thing is certain. This transfer isn't really about €30 million. It's about whether Manchester United have finally stopped chasing individual stars and started building an actual football team. And honestly, that might be the most important change this club could make. Now I'd love to hear what you think. If Manchester United complete this deal for around €30 million, will we look back in a few years and call it a bargain, or will it become another expensive mistake in the club's recent history? Let me know in the comments, because this is one of those transfers that could completely change the conversation around United's future.